In 1998, when I left Washington, I decided, because the official statistics didn't make sense. So I thought, okay, well, I'll drive around and see, and just price out communities and see what's really going on. So I drove about 500,000 miles across the U.S. over a 6-year period. And one of the things I learned how to do was drive with my knees.
Oh, yeah, right?
Because you could do a lot of multitasking driving with your knees.
Yeah, I do a bit of that,
but
too. The car nags at me when I do that.
Real, I'm sure.
Hey, so how'd you end up in Holland here? Or what?
So in 2012, I got a phone call from Robert's partner they were doing conferences. And they said, we're doing a breakthrough energy conference in Amsterdam. And our goal is to help cab drivers understand breakthrough energy. I said, well, okay, that sounds like my kind of deal. And so, again, here somewhere. So I said, sure, I'll come. And I came and spoke. I said, I know nothing about breakthrough energy, but I can speak about the economics. So I came.
Can you get on my right and all?
Yeah. So I came and met Robert and the group he was doing conferences with. And then I so loved the area that I came back. When was it? They did another conference in the U.S. So I came back and decided I would spend a month in Amsterdam just learning about the Netherlands. And so Robert invited me to come out to Stavoren, and I loved his work. So I said, would you make our audios and videos and do our stuff? So we started, and he started to do all of our audio video work, and it grew and grew and grew. So
you making Holland home now?
Well, what happened was I was starting to spend so much time working with him because we moved our hard copy and our printing and our wrap-ups. He took on the graphics work and the magazine too. So I was spending so much time co-locating with him that it then interrupted my Schengen area movement. So we decided we'd start a company together and get a residency certificate so that I wouldn't be limited for the Schengen travel. And then COVID-19 happened and I was here.
Yeah.
So my interpretation is if I go back to the America, my plan had been to spend half my time in Europe and half my time in America because our subscribers and our base is global. So I wanted to be free to travel the Northern Hemisphere, globally. And then COVID happened, so I don't want to go anywhere if I can't come back. So anyway, so we've started a company here because I've always wanted a European company. I just think if we're going to build a human civilization, it's going to be a global group of people who do it. And if you look at the people who decided they would rather go with truth than the cult, they're global. They're not in one place.
Oftentimes, a lot of times people are looking at things in terms of nation states.
Right.
And it's past that now.
Right. Although we have to have place-based optimization, and the problem with Mr. Global and the global leadership is they're harvesting places, and places have a negative return on investment. So all solutions require to reverse that and build bottom-up optimization in the economy. And it's going to have to be global. Because this is a planetary... one of the reasons that Mr. Global is pushing for a global central bank and these different central banking changes is they've decided to be a multi-planetary civilization. And so the question is, how can you create the structure you need to basically represent Earth's economy with other planets? and they build and plan in very long lead times, and so it's clear where they're going. I mean, we just in 2018 we issued a contract to Vodafone and Nokia to build a 4G network on the moon. The Chinese are planning on doing a development on the far side of the moon. You know, people are talking about going to Mars. So if you're going to have a multiplanetary civilization, how do you have a financial transaction function that can relate, you know, in and out for other planets? I dare say, I'm sure the Brits have their offshore havens up in the suborbital platform already. Why would they miss that trick?
Yeah. See, you registered a Dutch company?
Yeah, so we have a Dutch company, but it's quite transparent.
That's our offshore haven, huh?
Not Liechtenstein or...
No, I'm serious. If you look at the tax benefits of creating a legal jurisdiction in space that's free of all taxation, that's the ultimate tax haven. I'm serious.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Well, I'm sure it's. I'll bet you €1 it exists.
Yeah.
The best shots you'll get at the end.
Okay,
You
okay.
wanna-
Let's go there real quick.
So what you're missing, because summer is over, you will never see a more beautiful collection of boats than, you know, because they come in from across Friesland, they come down the Rhine, you know, they come from all over. And so the canals run back there all through the town and into Friesland, and then of course into the IJsselmeer. But it's like a boat show every day.
Yeah.
Now, you weren't in Germany when Bobby and Mary came, were you?
No.
No?
Just the last 2 weeks, yeah.
Double hit.
Do you want to walk this way or to the end here?
This is probably better, huh?
Yeah.
Let's go underneath those.
Go past me? We can go up to the. I cut this way.
Yeah? Want the harbor lights?
That's pretty out there, huh?
Oh, one day I was walking down here,
Uh-huh.
and a flock of like 100 starlings started to do figure eights over my head,
Uh-huh.
and I just stood there. And each time they did a figure eight, they came closer and closer. It was very magical. So we're looking south across to,
Little north of Amsterdam.
yeah. And in the summer, you know, the whole place is filled with sailboats.
And Germans.
And Germans. And one Scotsman.
Yeah.
So I used to have a pastor who would say, if we can face it, God can fix it. And I believe that many things are possible if we can face it. So again, transparency is very important. If you look at what needs to be done, the problem, we don't have the power to stop the central bankers from doing what they're doing, but my prediction is they will fail. It's too hard, it's too complicated, and it's too outside the laws of nature or the laws of divine intelligence. And the issue then becomes, how do we, as a people, pick up and build a human civilization? So, you know, they decided they couldn't do a human civilization. They're doing something I think will fail. And the question for all of us is, how can we make sure we can take things right if and when they fail? So everybody knows my favorite Bible story is the story of Gideon, and that's my prediction for what's going to happen.
And how does that go?
The story of Gideon is a long story. I won't tell the whole thing, but essentially, an angel of the Lord comes and asks Gideon to throw the Midianites out of Israel, and Gideon insists he's too unimportant and too helpless to do it. And the angel of the Lord says, well, that's okay, we're going to do it. You're perfect, because everybody will know it was us, not you. So, in fact, Gideon calls for an army, and the angel of the Lord makes him go through very many tests to make him realize that he doesn't need a big army, he just needs people who are faithful and competent. And in fact, in this environment, my advice to everybody after they come clean is strip your life down to the people who are, faithful and competent. And then so Gideon comes down the side of the mountains. The Midianites are sleeping in the valley below. And he comes down with Gideon's army, banging pitchers and lanterns. And the Midianites are so hateful and suspicious of each other, they jump into the dark and kill each other. And in fact, every time I've seen someone bring tremendous transparency to what's happening, that's what happens. The Midianites, a fight breaks out and the Midianites start killing each other. And if you look at what these guys are trying to do, it's so hard and complicated. I think the Midianite thing is going to happen par excellence. And the question for all of us is, okay, what's our plan if and when that happens?
What's your plan if that happens?
What is my plan? My plan is to build a human civilization. And again, first you bring transparency, then you rebuild the economy bottom up. But you have to, we are now integrating very powerful technology, and that means we have to grow spiritually. We have to, you can't have this kind of advanced technology, managed by cavemen. And to a certain extent, that's what we're watching. We're giving very powerful weaponry and very powerful surveillance technology to people who are using it, behaving like cavemen.
And the last question is do you think there's a spiritual dimension to this?
I think first and foremost what we're dealing with is spiritual. This is part of a 10,000-year-old war, and the outcome depends on our ability to spiritually evolve and grow up. So, I tell everybody death is not the worst thing that can happen here. What can happen is you can lose your immortal soul. That's your danger. So stop worrying about death and start worrying about, whether you're going to be free or not.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's good.
Okay. I said it in one sentence.
You did!